bowl.
Oh, well, we're recording.
We're recording. Why not? Like, I don't want to catch that. Like, I'm gonna die if I hit that.
I know, but then hit it soft.
Am I gonna die?
I hope you don't, because we got to record a podcast. Go slow. Don't try
I
to...
want a fresh bowl for the podcast.
Fucking weed snobs. You know, I found like the old distillates today, and I'm like, damn, you fucking bitch. Look at you just
So
like
snobby to
abusing
forget
this
about
shit. Like
something?
just putting it in a box of like, maybe I'll have some of this someday. And now I get to it and it's like, it's not good. It's leaking. Like, okay, great.
All right. I know that's right.
That's what we're gonna be jamming to in the retirement community. Big bang.
Our retirement community.
It's gonna be lit.
It's gonna be so. Like,
it's gonna be lit. We're gonna have
90s,
medical marijuana. We're gonna have the Cypress Hill. We're gonna be jamming to some like
90s hip hop,
gangsta rap.
Yeah. Okay. I'm ready.
Whatever. I can grab it from here.
Let's go.
Put the...
Oh, make it big. Okay, blind.
Well, make it big and... Hey,
oh,
you don't have to do all that. Shut up.
The grumpy clown.
Fix it. Right. We positioned these over on my side because these are supposed to represent me. So I'm like, she's like, oh, we're going to put this here because this is like you. You're a clown. And I'm like, oh, and grumpy cat, you're a grumpy clown. Yeah. And then she's like, I'm like, okay.
Hold on. I want to do
That's
this.
my brand, my new brand. Grumpy
so
clown.
We can be comfy. Okay.
Comfy on the couch.
Now we're ready?
On the big comfy couch. Are we ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Gotta reach on over here. Let's go. Yo, 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 yo. It's the Pot Smoking Moms podcast.
We're here.
We have arrived. I am your host, Sunny D, along with the captain.
Hola.
Captain J. If you like us, hey, rate, subscribe, share, be friends with us on all social medias, potsmokingmoms.com. Everything is there. It may not be the friendliest website, but if you have any feedback, let us know. We love feedback. Let's I hope you guys got something to smoke, because we got a little something to smoke.
Myself a bowl of Croqueta OG by Binsky.
What?
I literally
Let me
bought
see that.
this strain just because of the name.
Oh, Croqueta
I was
OG.
like, Croqueta OG? Okay. I'll try
Nice,
it. It's pretty good. I like it.
Okay. I have some cherry punch from True Leaf.
Oh, also from Chile. Okay.
Also from True Leaf.
Cheers. Oh, wait.
Cheers. Ching. Wash that down with a little Coca-Cola. Hashtag not sponsored.
God, to be sponsored by Coca-Cola, that would be great. I love Coke.
Jeez, we'd be fucking... I don't think there's a podcast that big. And Coke's like, hey, we'll sponsor you. Yeah, I don't know. Coffee cough. We got a cool show for you today. Last week we had Carrie and Michael from the Center, who are doing the 420 Festival that we will be at April 30th at Haran Park. Today, we've got Flavio Valdez. He is Hemp Mansion. And we'll be talking to him a little later on today. He's got an interesting story. He's got a beautiful place. That Hemp Mansion.
He's the property manager and the cultivator, right?
Yeah. And we talked to him a little bit about growing how it's been in his family, how he's done it for a while.
His
and
backstory.
His backstory. He's got a lot of them. But he's a hustler though, you know, and it's like sometimes you guys just got to learn all the different parts of the business in different ways. Like, you know, that's just how it goes. So stay tuned for that interview a little bit later. And yeah, April 30th is going to be a really fun day.
That's the day.
Yeah, that is a day. It's the 420 Festival in St. Pete at Horan Park and our Hemp Mansion dinner party.
In Brandon, Florida.
Florida. That's going to be at 6 p.m. If you haven't got your tickets, go ahead, go get your tickets. We actually have a giveaway. Well, we're announcing that.
Oh, yeah, we're answering the winner. Yep.
So hopefully you got a chance to enter in that giveaway. You know, if you're a patron, you get a 20% discount on the dinner. So that might be a good idea for some of you who love us so much.
So if you want a pot smoking mom day, full us all day long, we'll be at the fest from like 12 to 3, maybe 4. And then the dinner starts at 6. Dinner will be served by 7.
Doors
open at 6.
It's a mixed event, so pot smoking dads are welcome. Yeah. Aunts, uncles.
We've gotten that question a lot. Can my husband come? Yes. This is for everybody. It's not just for moms.
Our husbands are coming.
This is just for cannabis enthusiasts.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So please check it out. We got our links up everywhere, our website and Instagram.
So things that have happened this week.
I know you guys are so sick of hearing about it. But I feel like we want to talk. We haven't talked about it really yet, but we're all talking about that slap.
This is the thing everybody's been talking over the last week is that damn slap.
I know.
It's everywhere.
I had several conversations with people where I was just like, I wish it would have never happened at all.
I'm sure Will Smith wishes that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is it ruined a lot. It ruined the whole night for everybody,
including
him included.
Himself. It overshadowed his own night, own big night.
And now he can't even enjoy the fruits of his labor.
Like, what the fuck is going on between Jada and Smith?
Yeah,
Will Smith for that to escalate to that.
Yeah, that's a fully loaded.
There's something
plate.
going on there. There's something where he saw her be upset, and he felt triggered to have to do that in order to. I don't know.
Yo, I think it's the pressure to
appease her somehow.
It's the pressure too. But this is my whole thing.
He was laughing and clapping it at first.
Yeah, because I feel.
And then he realized she was offended, and then that happened.
Yeah, it was such a weird turn of events.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I didn't watch the Oscars.
Everybody was
it was the first video I saw when I went into TikTok. I literally opened TikTok in the morning.
The very next morning.
In the bathroom, pee first thing in the morning, open TikTok.
Well, I'll tell you what. I wasn't watching the Oscars. Yeah, I wasn't watching the Oscars. But my friend, we have a chat, and she sent, it was just a random YouTube clip. And it was the event, how it unfolded on air, which was a lot of stuff was muted.
Mm-hmm. No, but the clip I saw on TikTok
the next day.
I know, but
right.
That's crazy, but it had the F-bomb and everything.
But check it out. But this is why. So
now the sound is gone.
So my friend sends me this link, and it's how it aired. So it's mute. But at the same time, you see the situation, and you're like, what the fuck happened? So then I go to my husband, look at this. I think this just happened. He goes, did this just happen in the Oscars? And we put the TV on. Later on, I
wonder how many millions of people
I kept
did that.
searching on the internet, and in Australia, apparently, they aired it without muting it. They aired it live the way that it happened, and someone tweeted it from Australia going, here's the whole thing, because when we saw it, we didn't hear the parts.
The video I sent you, the TikTok I sent you, had all the sound. Like, you heard him say, keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth twice.
I know. He doubled down.
And
he tripled down at that point. Because that was a triple.
He did a slap. He said fucking F-bomb and a fucking F-bomb again. First of all, in those settings, those live you can get fined and in a lot of trouble for dropping F-bombs.
Bad words. Yeah.
And Chris Rock even said it himself. He's like, Will Smith just slapped the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Like, shocked.
Yeah.
I think you could say shit on TV, I think.
Well, I think at that point, who cared?
Poor Chris.
He had just straight up got slapped across the face. And look, I'll say this much. Everybody was wrong. everybody was wrong. I think Chris Rock's
I really don't think the joke was that bad.
I don't think the joke rose to the level of right. I don't think that the joke rose to the level of the slap. But I think it was hacky as fuck because a G.I. Jane joke, how is that even relevant now? Like, seriously? And as a comedian, know whose balls you're busting. Know the people you're writing the jokes about. Know what they're going through. And if they're going through a condition...
that Chris Rock is like on the spectrum and he doesn't like gauge that right. And I was like, it's
but at the same time,
attack everyone. Ricky Gervais freaking wiped the floor with Hollywood.
Ricky Gervais, listen, keep Ricky Gervais's name out of your fucking mouth.
Because he does it in I love Ricky Gervais. He does it in a British accent, so it's very eloquent.
Well, listen, but honestly,
I love Ricky Gervais.
And I feel like comedy is... Everything is on the table. I don't care what you have, who you are, what you've been through, but it is also, is the joke good enough? Is it funny enough? Is it well crafted enough to not be a disrespectful or, because again, comedy is comedy. You as the audience need to understand what is a joke and what is not a joke. And I understand that
it was obviously a joke.
It's unfortunately,
it wasn't a good joke, and
it wasn't a great joke. Taste. The situation was poor. A lot of things are there's a lot of things boiling over.
I love Will Smith. I feel so awful that he did this because he's totally tainted his night. Now
everybody else's night.
You pointed out he had to resign from the Academy.
Yeah, he had to resign from the Academy. Not only that.
Does that mean he can never win an Oscar again?
Something I think was very tacky.
That he won.
Is the speech. Because then we tuned in, we started watching it. And then he won. And we were like, oh my God.
They can't change the outcome of the awards.
Que asco. Having to oh my God, even just having to carry around that awkward
Did you not see the video footage of him at the after parties,
partying? Like nothing happened. That's disgusting. I really honestly think that dude, keep a low profile, especially after that happening. It's just it's kind of disrespectful to continue
they said
celebrating yourself like that.
Like they talked after.
Right, but I don't know, that was live fucking television. Dude.
No, it was important. It was an awful decision on Will Smith's part, and I don't know why he did it.
His speech.
He was not thinking.
His speech was so long.
Because he had to give his speech and apologize.
But it was
I didn't see it.
It was a little self-absorbed. I know that he was also talking about, I don't know. I don't even want to dissect it, but it was just
I didn't hear it. So
I would have just.
Not even after the fact.
God, after that, I would have been
he could have
hiding in my shell, just trying to melt away.
Apologize and just.
How can you even have the privilege to get away with that and then just be all nonchalant about it?
But what were they supposed to do? Not give out the best actor award?
I know it's a really weird situation, right? What? And then are they supposed to ask him to leave or it's a lot of things going down. I have a friend who, remember how I said I worked the awards here? She worked the awards there. I wished she was doing the people seating. Right? Because even Amy Schumer had a whole joke about the seat fillers. Did you? I don't know if you caught that.
No, I didn't. I heard her joke when she came back. She's like, I was changing.
Did something happen? Yeah, I know. She did great. Really different. Yeah. She was hilarious.
I saw that.
Yeah, but she made a joke about the seat fillers. It was really funny.
Who was hosting the Oscars this year?
It was in 3. It was Regina Hall. It was Amy Schumer, and it was, oh my God, this lady. I love this lady so much. Another stand-up comedian, Wanda Sykes.
Oh,
Wanda Sykes, which then later went on to Ellen. I don't know if you saw this, and Wanda Sykes was like, "Yo," she said that. Chris Rock went up to her after and apologized to her, and Wanda Sykes was like, why are you apologizing to me? He was like, because now This was supposed to be your moment. You guys were hosting. You guys were doing such a good job. And this shit happened. And now everybody's going to be talking about this instead of talking about what a wonderful job you guys did.
There's so many things. People, I think like the first deaf man won an Oscar too.
Oh my God, that was amazing. Right. For Coda. Yes.
Yeah. So like, it's like all these
and
other
then Questlove, he had a documentary that won. And it was just really unfortunate. All parties involved were kind of wrong, or at least everybody can learn something from it, I hope. But yeah. And let me add this too. And then Jim Carrey, and this is just to show you and to show you how everything kind of comes full circle nowadays. Jim Carrey made a statement too, and he was talking to Gayle King on a show about how he was offended just because he kind of kind of ruins it for everyone, and it was a joke, and like it's kind of like, you know, a comedian's a comedian. I know sometimes they go out of line and things like that, but like it was whatever. He made a comment. I agreed with his sentiment. I thought it was whatever. Will Smith was like pretty wrong. And someone circled back and was like, you know, I wouldn't jump on the Jim Carrey train because, and then it was a clip of him back in the MTV Music Awards when Alicia Silverstone was presenting an award to him. She was underage at the time, and he was like in his mid-30s. He grabbed her and he kissed her. And it was an assault. And you know what? I remember that happening.
That happened?
Yes, it happened.
Oh, so it must have been like Clueless time, right?
Right, it was exactly.
Or when she did what was the music video she did for
Aerosmith? Well, I think it was Clueless, Alicia Silverstone era.
And it was at the
MTV Movie Awards, right?
I guess he thought he'd get away with something like that there.
Well, but this is, again, let's go back in time to when we excused a lot of really bad male behavior, and we were kind of just like, you had brought up a whole documentary about Marilyn Manson.
I had no idea. First of all, I don't follow celebrity relationships, so I don't even remember that they even dated.
Yeah, I very much remember when they dated. What's her name? Do you remember her name?
Evan Rachel Wood.
Evan Rachel Wood and Marilyn Manson.
From Westworld.
From Westworld, right? She was in
like Android or
what's
robot
the Beyond the Universe? What's the Beatles movie?
Across the Universe.
That's
and then she also did that movie 13, which is the movie I ever saw her in, which she was really great in. That movie was freaking dark. Yeah. But
she was like a very strong actress. She was on the come up too.
She was on the come up, and she was 18 years old, and he was like 36 or 37 when they started.
I got really mad when they started dating in the public eye. I thought it was so disgusting, and
her apparently her agents and her publicity people, everybody was telling her no, and they were against it. But she got involved. You got to watch this documentary. She talks about how she was groomed, the love bombing and all that, and then how it changed, and then the things that she tried to do to leave several times would always end up back. And it's hideous,
hideous. And then you think back into Marilyn Manson days, and he was doing this in the broad daylight, like, you know.
Yeah, and she talks about that, how it was just excuse that he's just being ironic. He's not really meaning these things. He's being ironic or whatever.
But then you think of that's all the excuses back in the day. Oh, Jim Carrey, he was just being funny, you know? Like, we really did, unfortunately, and this is a conversation I had in the DMs.
I wonder how Alicia Silverstone felt about that.
I know. And now in retrospect, you're like, fuck, man, that was really messed up. Right now that we've started coming out and everybody started talking and we're having these conversations, the Me Too movement, all that stuff. So someone was like, oh, I wouldn't jump on the Jim Carrey train, and then brought that up. And I'm like, listen, although I agree with you, it's also kind of crazy, right? When someone says something and you agree with them, and then we start looking through their entire history to pick up all of the shit that they've done that we don't agree with. Like when somebody's Twitter receipts from back in the day get pulled into it. Mm-hmm. I get it. I understand that, like,
people grow and learn.
But I think it's also kind of like, why are we going out of our way to delve back into time to reopen old wounds? I mean, I guess it's to add to the conversation, you know? I don't want to shut it down either, right? Yeah. Because we want to recognize that was wrong and that should never happen again.
Watch that shit, and so we can talk about it.
The Marilyn Manson documentary.
Because it's fucking bananas. I was never a fan, so I didn't follow him. I don't follow celebrities, so I didn't even know about the relationship. And it was like in the early 2000s, like 2003 to 2006 or something like that, or 2006. They were together like 3 or 4 years.
Isn't it weird how you love TV reality shows and I'm like super annoyed by them, but like I follow celebrities and I kind of know about shit based off of the online.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I should be into. We're like on opposite sides. Oh, whatever. Well, we're filling each other in there. I love
TV shows and movies, but I don't like read articles about people. And
I've been following her online with this story and Rose McGowan, because she also dated Marilyn Manson and she was coming out with Me Too. And I think it's really interesting how she dated Marilyn Manson, but she says nothing. Everything was consensual on her end, and she never saw any of this, which I think is weird because it was whatever. It was like there's a lot of
in the documentary. She talks about like it was a long time before she actually named him. Like she was speaking out about being abused and being in a relationship with domestic violence and sexual assault and all that, but she never named who it was, and people always speculated based off her history.
Listen,
who it was.
I was watching it in real time, Jay, and I was like, "This is fucking weird." And it, to me, what that whole situation felt like was
he was married.
She was trying to take advantage of his celebrity, and he was trying to take advantage of her naiveness and her youth.
I don't know if she was trying to take advantage of his celebrity. I think I may be biased because I believe her documentary.
But listen, at the time,
but the way
huge.
she explains it, she was 18, 19 years old. She was with a boyfriend, and she just got swept up by this like rock star celebrity.
Right, but that's part of it. He was a hot rock star celebrity, so that added to the whole. I don't see how
she's trying to take advantage when her entire team is telling her it's damaging to her reputation and her thing, and she was going against.
Right, but that
I think she was just a dumb kid that got involved with an older guy that took advantage of her.
Yeah, but that's it. His celebrity and his rock star is appealing to someone of her age.
That's exactly why a lot of times, like, I can't believe this guy of this caliber that's like a god is interested in me. He thinks I'm special.
Exactly, and that's why a lot of people online are getting groomed by these online celebrities now. I don't want to bring up any TikTok drama, but there was a whole thing where one of these dudes, the warrior guy. No, the Indian guy.
No,
there's a bunch of them, because even that James Charles or whatever, he was also into some whole grooming thing, and a bunch of these celebrities, they get a lot of attention really fast, and they use it to their advantage. So guys want to, like,
it's so sad.
So they take advantage. And he was taking advantage of her because she's young and naive. And what do you?
I want to know what you think after. And then, like, she talks about the whole Nazism and like how he's obsessed with Nazi stuff.
And why when
and
he
how
was
people
doing
thought it was ironic, and not that he was literally really racist,
which is crazy.
She said that he would always try to get somebody on tape either doing one of three things: saying the N-word, or being abusive to somebody, or admitting to something, or whatever. And that she believes that that's how he kept a lot of his like people around him quiet.
That guy is a sociopath.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I never got good vibes from that guy.
The only song that I ever knew of his was "The Beautiful People." Like
I thought some of his songs were cool. I went to one of his concerts once because it was like a bunch of people.
The thing that I thought was most fucked up. The thing that she talks about, and apparently there's witnesses coming forward and like corroborating her story. The heart-shaped glasses music video.
I remember that. Yeah,
she said that she doesn't remember because she was so fucked up on absinthe and stuff that he was giving her, and that as they were going through things, he was doing stuff that what wasn't agreed upon in the script of what the shoot was going to be, and it just kept getting more and more progressive. And they were supposed to simulate having sex, and he actually penetrated her and like raped her in front of everybody.
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
So she was like, they had sex on stage in front of everybody, and she was obliterated. She had there was no consent there,
right?
And then like apparently there's a couple people that were on that set. They have come forward corroborating her story and saying they felt very uncomfortable because she looked completely out of it. and it didn't seem
But
right.
again, it's like the Kanye
and all
syndrome.
Those people let that happen.
But again, it's the Kanye syndrome or the Harvey Weinstein syndrome, right? Where this guy has a lot of money, a lot of power. He is a big celebrity now. Now it's gone out of control. Now nobody could tell him shit. He does his own thing and everybody just has to play along in his game. All right. We'll watch that. I'll watch that. Anyhow. Went to a comedy show last night. I went to see Hasan Minhaj from the Patriot Act. He was also on the Daily Show.
Was it funny?
It was phenomenal. They did the thing again where they take your phone and they lock it away. That feels kind of weird. I had to tell my husband, okay, I'm putting my phone away now.
So that you can't take any video of
it. Right. Because comedians are working on new bits. They don't need people posting their shit online. It takes years and years to be able to come up with... it takes a long time to be able to come up with a whole ass show. So, don't ruin it for someone.
How does this work? How do they take it and lock it up? How do you know your phone is safe and you're going to get back your correct phone? What is this?
Okay, so it's like a little pouch and it has a little magnetic enclosure. Pook, and it closes. You know, like the little magnets that they put on the shit so that you don't take stuff from the store?
Okay.
Right? You know how that has a little platform and they just they tap it and it opens and so it's the same concept, only it's a pouch that opens and closes with that same kind of lock. So what they'll do is you'll come in and they'll say, hey, put your phone on silent or turn your phone off or put it airplane mode. You stick it in, they close it. If they tell you if you need to open it, there's people all around. You can just walk out of the theater and they'll open it for you so you could use it.
So you hold it yourself.
So you have it yourself.
Okay.
Right, the whole time, but it's locked away so you can't touch it. So you can't record.
So you can leave it on silent so it still vibrates. So if an emergency happens, you feel it vibrate and you think you might want to check it.
Right.
You can turn off all notifications and only put emergency mode or something like that.
Right.
I don't know what's That's interesting. So
then that way, you're not stealing shit. You're not posting shit. He is working on this is a show that he's going to essentially videotape and then probably have on Netflix or something. So he don't need nobody.
There's also less chances of people capturing bad jokes, putting it on the internet and then being canceled.
True. There's a whole list of reasons why this is a good idea. Also, get off your fucking phone and watch the fucking show.
Yeah.
I would say the same for concerts. Lock the phone away. I understand there's emergencies, but enjoy your life. I can't tell you how many times I get upset when I go to a concert and I see 50 million phones.
All you see in front of you
just
phones.
All of it. Just boop. And you're just like, dude.
I am guilty of taking a few videos, but I put it away because I don't like to live the concert through the phone because I don't feel like I really experienced it. And I have a big regret with one concert for that. And that's that I went to see Rufus Wainwright and Sean Lennon at Radio City Music Hall.
Oh, that's a good show.
And they performed Across the Universe together because he does a cover of that song and Sean Lennon played the guitar on the song with him. So it was like a monumental moment. His band wrote this song and he's doing it with Rufus, whatever. And instead of watching it, I videotaped it. And I was really watching through the thing, even though I would look up in between.
Right.
It takes away from the moment.
I think it does. And I understand the concept of boop, getting a little clip because you want to kind of have that in your back pocket to always reminisce or whatever. But do not spend your whole fucking show videotaping on your phone. First of all, the quality is garbage. The quality fucking sucks. What are you going to do with it? You're just going to sit there and stare at it because you're probably going to forget about it.
It's for the gram.
But the new, everybody
that's all it is. It's oh, look what I did.
For fucking clout, because that's all that matters now these days. But anyways, it's great. Put the phone away. It was a wonderful comedy show. Then I partied hard afterwards, kind of nursing a hangover.
Paying for it now.
Yeah, because I was like,
the Taco Bell helped.
I'm really close to my house because it was the Hard Rock. And I can drink and I'm with my friends and we're having a good time. It was fun.
That's awesome.
And inspiring because I'm I want to be on stage. So I was telling my friend, we got to be a stage like this. This is the stage you're going to be on, you know?
Well, for me, I'm trying to figure out where to go with my Finnair. I have a Finnair credit for canceling my trip to Spain. I was considering just going back to Spain. But when we're looking, I don't want any fucking layovers. I want nonstop, straight shot there.
Don't make me have to jump on another shit.
8 or 9. It's 9 hours already without a layover. So no, thank you. Right. So the ones available for that are within the price range are still one stop and it makes the trip way too fucking long.
Yeah.
So I don't make fun of me, okay? Because I get into weird shows randomly.
Right.
But I've never watched Downton Abbey.
I hear it's good. A lot of people love that show.
I'm enjoying it.
Oh, so you started watching it? You really like it? Where is it?
I started watching it. It's on Netflix.
But where's it located? Where does it take place in?
It's in England, and it's a town called Downton, and it's basically it's based in the early 1900s. The first episode airs like when the Titanic sinks, right? So I think it's like 1912, and like the Titanic sinks, and an heir to Downton Abbey passes away, and that's how you learn about this whole. And it's really interesting because you see that whole British thing about the lords and the ladies and the servants and the housemaids and the lady maids and all that. And there's a lot of drama, but there's the servant stories, and then I like that.
And it's like a very a period piece, right? Like they're very all dressed up. The costumes are very
are great. It's just it can be a little boring sometimes, and I could fall asleep to it great. But the drama is good, and it's just all the properness and the you know. I like it, and now I'm like, man, I've always wanted to go to England. So now I'm like, now I really want to go to England and Scotland. And there's a recent episode I just watched where they go to Scotland, and it's just so beautiful. So I'm considering England, Scotland, and Ireland if I can figure out how to put it into the trip.
I was like Ireland. I was like, for whatever reason, we chart in the charts, in the podcast charts in Ireland. Let's go to Ireland and see who's out there. Yeah. You can smoke there?
No, I just mean like, green is their color. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if we love green there, too. Honestly.
Well, you can smoke anywhere, technically.
Probably tolerated.
Hey, guys. That's enough of us yapping away. Here's a couple of stories you might be interested in. If it's nuggy and it's news, we read it.
We read it to you. Okay, so we talked about how they were going to vote on the MORE Act.
Right, again. And then all week everyone was like, yeah, right? When? When?
Even Thursday we had an interview, and we're like, it hasn't happened yet. What's going on? It finally happened Friday. So this is the story. We're not reading the whole story, just the gist of it.
Yeah, just because we already know what happens.
Yeah, just a few paragraphs of it because it was like ridiculous long, and they always repeat the same shit over and over. So, House approves federal marijuana legalization bill for second time in history. Yes, people, we have gone through this drill already.
Yeah, just really quick, yay.
Yeah.
We already did. We've been here.
We've been here. We've done that, and we're doing it again, apparently. So the U.S. House of Representatives on Friday approved a bill to federally legalize marijuana for the second time in history, also adapting a pair of amendments to the legislation before final passage.
Como siempre.
Following an hour of debate on the Marijuana Opportunity, Reinvestment, and Expungement Act, also known as the MORE Act, from the House Judiciary Chairman, Gerald Nadler, and the approval of two amendments and the rejection of a third, the full chamber voted 220 to 204 to end the federal cannabis prohibition and promote social equity in the industry.
The vote fell largely along party lines, with only 3 Republicans supporting the measure and 2 Democrats opposing it.
Yeah, for real.
A nearly identical version of the MORE Act passed in 2020, but it stalled in the Senate, passed through the sponsors panel again this session in September. 3 Republicans to vote for overall passage of the bill were Reps Matt Gaetz, Brian Mast, and Tom McClintock. The 2 Democrats who voted against were Reps Henry Cuellar and Chris Pappas.
Man.
Hey.
What the hell, Dems? You're supposed to all be on board.
Boo! I don't know how long that goes. Okay.
Yeah, so we've been here already. So a lot of people think that that's just what's going to happen. It's going to stall in the Senate again, that we're not going to have the votes needed for it to pass there.
Right. We actually posted about it. It's interesting when we post news stories and there's like a lot of people going, yay, let's do it. And other people going, it's not going to fucking happen. Mm-hmm. Right. We got someone who's on our podcast, the Dr. Mike. We love him. He wrote in and he said, unfortunately, it's dead in the Senate. Not only do you not have 60 votes, you don't even have 50 Dems on board. Opposition likely to come from these Democrats. And he listed them: Senator Feinstein, Tester, Shaheen, and Collins. which is pretty interesting. There was another comment here somebody left. Let me see. Magic City Fun Guy says, now you wait for the Senate to say no again. They'll need 60%. It's projected that we have less than 55% support, which is total bullshit. Majority rules. 55% is majority enough, apparently. So they get technical when it comes down to like how many votes pass it, how many votes don't. And pretty much everybody is saying it's going to die at the Senate.
I mean, that's the history so far.
Right.
And not much has changed since the last.
Well, but what was the last? Who was it? We had a different president the last time it went around, right?
Yeah, but the Senate. Well, no, this when was it? What year was that it got voted on last time? Was it during 2020 or was
I want to say it was the last year that Trump was in office, right?
So 2019 leading into 2020. It might have
somewhere
actually
around there.
It was in 2019 because it was when we first started the podcast.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like one of the first stories we talked about. Was it going through the Judiciary Committee? That might have been, I don't know. We would have to do our research.
But I would say it was kind of back then. So I think differently would be maybe the president. I don't know if it would change anything because it's kind of like. It
comes down to the senators.
Right.
That's why it's so important that like everybody just fucking flood their freaking, you know, how you contact them, call them, write to them. Everybody just, you know, make it known the constituents want this, especially to those senators that Dr. Mike listed. Those guys need to be freaking bombarded with it.
Yeah. But like really,
it doesn't hurt to try. If they really feel like it's going to affect their chances of getting reelected.
But what I was going to say, right, is like after the pandemic and we ruled it was what was it?
An essential business. An
essential business.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't we, like, isn't it safe to say, like, choo-choo, all aboard? Like, let's get this fucking cannabis
show on the road.
Cannabis train going.
You know who we're not sure if they're on board or not? Biden.
I know, right?
So this other headline we just saw recently, White House won't say if Biden supports federal marijuana legalization bill passed by House. So we're going to play the little clip when they ask Press Secretary Jen Psaki this specific question.
Little flustered Jen.
Here we go.
Just one quick question on another subject. The House passed a bill today that would remove marijuana from the federal schedule of controlled substances. Every Democrat, save for two, voted in favor of this bill. Does the president support the legislation?
Well, first let me say that, as the president said during the campaign, our current marijuana laws are not working. He agrees that we need to rethink our approach, including to address the racial disparities and systemic inequities in our criminal justice system, broaden research on the effects of marijuana, and support the safe use of marijuana for medical purposes. We look forward to working with Congress to achieve our shared goals, and we'll continue having discussions with them about this objective. Jackie, go ahead.
Thank you.
So what we were saying, right, because I know you kind of have a couple mixed feelings about this.
They're just repeating campaign points and promises, basically.
Right, but I also think that they feel safe, that they're not going to have to worry about it. So this is like their little umbrella comment.
Yeah.
Because they're basically saying like, okay, you want to talk about this, but in order for us to talk about it, right, exactly.
It's not going to get to my desk anyway.
Exactly.
So like, why comment on it?
Right, like it needs to pass. It needs to happen for us to work for us to jump on that shit.
Yeah, because let's say the Senate does pass it. It goes to his desk to sign.
And then he has no choice. He has no choice but to fucking address it and get the shit done.
He's going to have to sign it because he said he wouldn't oppose it if it came to his desk.
Right, but he's got to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got to get there.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Biden or whatever, or those people are lobbying the senators to not get it there so that he doesn't have to make that decision.
I mean, look. I don't know.
I don't know, bro.
Yeah, everyone.
This is too much back and forth. It's taking too long. Just get it done already.
Oh, I know.
And then the question is, what happens when it's
right?
done?
And then so that's the next thing. Like a lot of people hit us up, going like, "Oh, well, what does this mean? What does this mean?" So right. So House has approved it. Everybody there is like, "Cool, we like this. This is good." Now the Senate needs to approve it. And then basically, if it passes the Senate, then the president really has.
And if it passes the Senate, it probably won't be the same bill. They're probably going to change some shit,
right?
Take some stuff out, add some shit in there that has nothing to fucking do with it.
Who knows, right? But then, Yeah, to try to sabotage it. I wouldn't be fucking surprised.
Or not even to sabotage it. Like, they're trying to, to get freaking people on board to vote for it. They're like, oh, we got to add this to it to actually get people to vote for it.
Right. Then if that passes, right, let's say that they say, okay, that's cool. All right, decriminalize, boop, 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 all this shit. Then they're going to leave it up to the states. They're not even going to really lay down the law of the land because they're going to leave it up to your state to decide for you then what happens.
Yeah. And I honestly think if it did get federally decriminalized, that I think even states that are currently fully illegal will start getting on board because now it's not federally legal. There's
right.
No
now they're kind of forced. They're like, again, okay, the bridge is there. They have to cross.
We can't arrest people for it anymore. You know, they could probably only fine people for it. They're not going to allow people to be going to jail for it anymore. So maybe they'll either get on board with it or just continue to be living in the freaking
anti. And adopt the, if you're anti, stay here. If you're not, go to one of them other states.
Let's see how many freaking people leave those states.
Go to one of them other states. Yeah, I know. Plus the money, bro.
So
how
much
would
money.
You not want your own constituents?
So much money to be made.
Whatever. I know.
You could be reinvesting all that into the communities, into education,
lobbying, whatever. Anyways.
Speaking
of big, oh, jeez.
What'd you do?
I know. I was trying to get to my soundboard.
Oh, no.
I didn't mean to do that, dude.
Okay.
I need to get to it, though. Oh, for fucking 2 seconds of this. I love you, Miami! Trying to get to that button.
All right, you're green.
Florida threatens to revoke Disney's self-governing authority over LGBTQ bill feud. Wait, hang on. Disney's what now? Who wrote this?
Self-governing authority.
Right, they had their own thing.
Yeah, if you've been
They're
to Disney,
big enough
if you're
to
from
be
here,
there.
you would know that Disney's their own thing. They have their
you
own
don't even
police
have to
station.
You don't even have to be around here to know Disney's a whole ass motherfucking thing.
No, but I don't think it's common knowledge unless you're like a Disney
like a whole
huge fan that they're like their own municipalities. They have their own
they have their own gas station and their own auto center, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
Earlier this week, Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill that allows parents to sue school districts if teachers violate what appear to be tactically vague limitations on discussing sexual orientation or gender identity. After internal pressure that included an employee walkout at the company's Burbank, California office, the Disney Corporation, whose Walt Disney World is a major employer and tourist draw in Florida, issued a statement that said the bill should never have passed and should never have been signed into law. Disney further said that our goal as a company is for this law to be repealed by the legislature or struck down in the courts.
In response, DeSantis said that he believes the company no longer deserves special privileges under Florida law. He was referring in part to a suggestion made by Republican State Representative Spencer Roach that legislators should discuss a repeal of the 1967 Reedy Creek Improvement Act, which allows Disney to act as its own government.
In the mid-1960s...
Oh, that's me, dude.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I mean, you can go.
I got into it, guys.
It's cool. In the mid-1960s, the Walt Disney World Company proposed building a recreation-oriented development on 25,000 acres of property in Central Florida. The property sat in a remote area of Orange and Osceola County, so secluded that the nearest power and water lines were 10 to 15 miles away. Neither Orange nor Osceola County had the services or the resources needed to bring the project to life. In 1967, the Florida legislature, working with Walt Disney World Company, created a special taxing district called the Reedy Creek Improvement District.
Reedy.
Sorry, R-E-E-D-Y. Reedy. Reedy Creek Improvement District that would act with the same authority and responsibility as a county government.
That's nuts. I'm really into it because I kind of got it, but I can't believe that.
They're
shit.
their own government, dude.
That's like what was it called? what is it? Martial law? Is it like that's like in the ocean has its own thing? No,
that's marine law or marine.
And then in the air, there's another.
There's nautical laws or nautical or marine, whatever. Maritime. Right,
and it's like different. And when you're in the air,
like its own city.
And when you're in the air, it's different too. Right.
So they have like their own police officers, their own firefighters, their own like.
Wow. As explained by Cite Florida Politics, the RCID's governing body, the board of supervisors, is chosen by the RCID's landowners. There are some landowners besides Disney in the district, but none whose holdings are within an order of magnitude of the Mouse's, which means Disney, in effect, selects the board members. Because of a requirement in the law, it then grants them nominal ownership over 5 acres of land, which they have to give back when they leave the board. The Orlando Sentinel has described the land as inaccessible and undevelopable.
So all that undeveloped land, I guess it's part of those 5 acres they give to people so that they can be part of the board of members. I guess that's how they appoint their own board members. They're like, we want this person to be a board member, so we're going to give them 5 acres that they can't do anything with, but they own it.
Huh. That's interesting. The board can, among other things, write building codes, sell tax-free bonds, produce electricity, condemn property, and kill mosquitoes.
Yeah, everybody talks about the mosquitoes. Like, you don't see mosquitoes in Disney. Like, you don't get bit. They have, like, some kind of special, like, formula they do where there's no mosquito population in the Disney grounds.
What?
Yeah. They have, like, a special program for killing mosquitoes that they focus on because that is like one of the worst things about being down here in Florida are the fucking mosquitoes anytime you're outside.
Yeah.
So Disney has like a whole program.
I never thought about that. That's fucking wild.
Because you're outside all the time. So
I never even thought about that.
I know.
That's mind blowing. They have a whole thing with the cats, right? And the mouses. They have like feral cats that live on the Disney property grounds.
Oh, that I didn't know. Yeah. I've never seen cats.
And they come out at night, bitch. It is crazy. There's like a documentary on Disney before we went, when I went with my family the last time. My husband got really into this documentary where it talks about how they got the land and what their idea was. It's really interesting. Some of this might be in there.
Probably. So it says here, how serious of a threat is DeSantis making? Well, Florida's legislature has finished with its annual business and won't meet again until next year, unless DeSantis calls a special session. But one also imagines that even if building code approval and other responsibilities reverted to other local authorities in Central Florida, those authorities might defer to the interests of the global mega corporation that is responsible for 99.9% of their economic activity.
Right.
That area's economic.
Which...
I mean, think about it.
Disney's when we agreed.
Disney even draws
not a good thing.
People that go to Universal,
but Disney is a huge company and they're untouchable, just like Marilyn Manson was back in the day.
Yeah,
and even more so then, and forever and ever, Disney, because Disney owns everybody.
Yeah, they do.
Disney owns stock in everybody's life.
Yeah.
Which is very scary, but like also see how they're kind of like even local governments have to
get in line.
Die by the fucking mouse.
I can see, hey, Mickey Mouse. Hey, DeSantis, you're going to do what I say.
Yeah. Come over here. Suck on my mouse nuts. And now we'll intro into our interview after a mouse nuts joke. So this next interview was really fun because we're very excited about our dinner event happening April 30th at the Hemp Mansion. This is the first event that we put on, and we just kind of wanted to do a small, nice, fancy, intimate dinner party. So when we met Flavio, we were like, whoa, let's do this. Mm-hmm. We spoke to him today, and he tells us a little bit of his story, how he got into hemp, and how he started Hemp Mansion, and basically what he wants to do with that, and tells us a little bit about his CBD products. Hope you enjoy the interview. Here it is.
Okay, so how I guess I've been doing this, or how I got into it was we moved to the hood. I was a kid, and as for some horrible stuff. But I ended up moving to the hood, and it was kind of like I was kind of nerdy. So they were like, oh, this is the nerdy kid. And so I don't know. It got to the point where they were like going to beat me up or not, And so I don't know. For some reason, somebody told them that I was kind of nerdy. So they were like, hey, man, they showed me this magazine. They're like, what does this say? And I was just like, what are you talking about? And they're like, what does this say? It's about growing plants. And I looked at it, and that was the time I ever seen a high magazine. I was 12 years old, and they basically was talking about adding CO2 to your grow rooms to supplement, I don't know what the sun does. So like, oh, this is crazy. This is science. And I was like, back then I would look at like Popular Mechanics, all these science, different magazines, and like astronomy, whatever. And I was just like blown away by it. So I was just like, dude, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And
so when you were, that's insane.
12-year-olds were looking at High Times?
I know. And then they were like, somebody who was trying to grow was asking you, hey, what does this mean? Is that how it went down?
Yeah, and so that's kind of how it was. So then, like, I was basically exposed to it at this point, and it was more on like a love of science, but at the same time, it was gardening. My mom used to force me to like garden to get outside of the house because I was always online. I was like, on data stuff, and I don't know, and that was like her way to like get me outside. I was doing growing, and they kind of knew that, and so that was like the first time I ever seen the plant, but not the plant as in seeing the plant because I put in the note thing that my mom was native in Mexico, which is pura para, and they actually use it for medicinal purposes. And so this was the only time I ever seen it outside of that realm, that it was medicine. And my friends were kind of like, they weren't my friends at that time, but actually they became friends after that point. And so it was a love of the plant. We started smoking. They didn't beat me up. And actually they started having me work out with them. So if any of the other guys decided to beat me up, they were like, you at least can defend yourself, so they helped me work out. And ever since then, it was kind of like we were smoking, growing, and like selling, a lot of selling. And that was, my mom ended up catching me later on. And
where would you guys grow?
Yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
Like, where'd you keep your plants to keep away from your parents?
Because we lived in the hoods, but there was like here in the Florida in hood, it means like either a trailer park or in the hood, and like they're usually like surrounded by the woods because they try to keep people away from them. And so like you just go in the woods, And so where we lived, it was kind of like they called it like Dirty South, but literally it was like kind of like, I guess it was kind of like not Everglades. Here's like kind of swampy areas, so it was kind of like wet, but at the same time, like it was just the perfect weather, for these plants. But they would be growing out there, and they'd be whatever, man. It was kind of what we sold,
And you had a link. So tell me a little bit about your mom. Like, so you told me that you have the way you practice, the way you grow. It's all family.
Yeah. So my mom asked, like later on, I was trying to figure out about her past, and so I asked her, like what did we do, what kind of people we were, and she starts telling me about, they're in the mountains, and sometimes, they're close to Acapulco, so they go out, they're fishing. They're actually known as like the fish people, and like our I guess my family, what they did was growing. Right, so they would grow corn and beans and whatever, and I guess medicinal plants as well. My mom, growing up, she was always like, people would just randomly come to the house, and she'd be like the medicine woman. But I was like, Mom, can you stop doing this stupid bullshit? Because I always thought it was just bullshit, But she'd be like sovando people, with the egg, or like taking different like herbs and like smoking their house, whatever. She just. That's what she was always doing, and I just kind of ignored it all. I just wanted to get away from it, but that's kind of how I started,
Interesting.
And what changed your mind to make you embrace it more?
Honestly, now, so I guess so much through over the years of like business. You get desensitized to like people. And you get to you get to a point where it's just kind of like driven by money, and you just got to get depressed. You kind of like remove yourself from that, And so and you get to a point where a lot of the things that I was doing, some things do cause like pollution, but when you get to your darkest days, you get to the point where you're just like, I got to do something with what I can do now, you know? So that was kind of like, so I stopped smoking when I was about 14 years old. I started getting into like football and whatnot. And I actually got like huge into business later on. But when I like got really depressed and like fell apart, I actually came back to the plant, and it started like, I don't know, it speaks to you about like your culture. And then I met this woman, Rita, online on Instagram, and I can't remember her handle right now, but she's in charge of the Equinox. I think it was in New Mexico, and she's also in charge of like a seed bank. And so she started sending me seeds that my mother's people would be growing, because she's actually was like, oh, who are the, you know, what's their name? And I was just like, okay. So I started telling her their name, and she's like telling me about these seeds, and all of a sudden she's like, you know, some of these seeds, like Monsanto like comes after them and like don't release them. We just share them to like families, right? And so she sent me some of the seeds, and I started getting more into it. And that's kind of why, like, I really put that on the notes, because I started like looking into the people, and I realized that there was like one of the tribes that never was conquered by like the Aztecs or like the Spanish. They actually like teamed up with the Spanish, and it was just so much history. But the plant goes all the way back because they used it for like medicine, and it was just crazy because it like came back to it, and I fell apart, man. You know, like I got depressed from doing business and building a bunch of brands. And now at this point, I'm like, I got all these resources, and I hadn't been using them at that point. It was just more for money. And since the plant saved me at that point, I had to like decide, what am I going to do? I'm going to continue like doing the same business stuff that I was doing, or actually use my resources for good. And so like, that's when I started like really digging into my mom's past, is when I wanted to do good with it. So yeah, so I dropped a piece of equipment, got hurt, and I kind of was like laying in bed, and I was just like, dude, I was 360 pounds and kind of was like giving up on life at this point, right? I was just like, I've tried everything, tried flipping, doing all kinds of stuff. It wasn't working, and I couldn't get anybody to come help me, like to do this job. So nobody's going to come help me when I have a messed up leg. Right. And my parents were out of town. They were in Brazil or something for like 3 months, whatever. It was a trip. And so then I'm kind of laying there in bed, and I'm just like, I'm done. Like I should just kind of like kill myself right at this point. And I used to write these motivational quotes on the board for my crew, right? Like, because they would get depressed, and they were all like in college. And I'm just like, and the last one I wrote up was, "You're still alive." Right. And I kind of looked up at the board, and I was just like, the things that I keep telling them, I should have been listening.
Right.
Like, holy fuck, right? I look up, and like, you're still alive. And at that whole moment, everything that was like ever done, everything that I've been through was kind of like, I got to do something, you know?
Gotta get yourself out of the funk. Yeah.
And I was like selling dabs at this time, right? I was like making a bunch of money because like my parents were like, "You need anything?" I'm like, "I don't need anything," because I was selling dabs, you know? Just stupid shit, black market, whatever. And my cousin was like always huge about doing dabs, and I think that's kind of why he left. Was I was always upset with him about using marijuana for like before work or whenever he was stressed, and I would get upset with him, right? And I was just like, maybe I should try that, right? So you weren't
at this point. You weren't using it. You weren't using it. You were just selling it.
No, I was just working. I wasn't doing it at this time anymore.
Yeah.
Right. I gave up when I was 14 years old. I stopped using it. I did sell, and I was like all about it up until I was like 14. Decided to like, I need to change my life, you know. Yeah. And I always thought it wasn't that I was blaming the plant. It was just kind of like, that's kind of what my scapegoat was, like, oh, I need to cut this out, when it wasn't that, you know. And so then I used it. I did a huge dab. The knee pain went away, and I was just like, holy fuck, I got to do something right now. And so like I like dragged myself to the truck, drove to CVS, bought a knee brace, put it on, and like I had got my hurt before on my knee. Like I've like sprained my knee before, and like I knew what I needed to do, right? So then I was by myself. I'm in the city of like, there's nobody going to come help me. I'm in Huntington, West Virginia. I mean, it's the opiate capital of the world. So like my friends are not really like people I'm going to like use all the time, you know, and it wasn't that I'm going to use them. It's just, they were all busy with their lives.
Yeah. You couldn't rely on them. Right.
yeah, I didn't like I had to be strong for them, and at the same time, like what like I was always pushing that narrative, like be better for yourself.
Yeah, you're always being positive for everybody else except for yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I started doing yoga, started working out, and I started preaching to them like, hey guys, like you got to do something right now. Like you're young enough to still do something. Like I've ruined my life. Like and I'm like, you got to do something. So I started using the dabs. I started doing yoga. I lost 100 pounds.
Nice.
But before I lost 100 pounds, I was like 50 pounds with the dabs and like ran out. Right. And I didn't have money to like buy more because I wasn't flipping anymore. And so then I just went down to the local smoke shop. They had hemp. I started using hemp and I was just like, holy shit, I still get the same results, but without the high. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to buy it from like somewhere in the middle of nowhere that I don't know where it's coming from, who's growing it, who's doing what. And, and so, but then when I started buying hemp, it was inconsistent as well. Like I would go to one place, it would work sometimes it wouldn't. So then I went to another place, same thing. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't work. And it was for my knee pain. And every single time I just kept switching sources and it was just never consistent.
Right.
And I kept telling my dad was like super shocked, right? Like what the fuck is going on? Thought I was like on drug, like hardcore shit. Like did a fucking like came down for 2 weeks, like detoxed me from hemp, and he's like, what the fuck? Like he's making me run. I was like doing all this crazy stuff. And he's like, how do you feel? And I'm just like, dude, I just feel like shit, but I'm still me, And he was just like, okay. And I kept telling him about this hemp stuff. And I was just like, dude, like we got to get into this. And he kept calling it my hobby. And, anyways, so it gets to the point where we're shutting down the construction business. Like we've like, I'm like, dude, I'm not doing this anymore. He kind of wanted to continue because he had a bunch of money tied up into it, right? But I'm like, I gotta follow my dreams. It wasn't my dreams. I gotta do something with the resources I have, And so then he's like, okay, let's do this. And so then, I applied for a license. He didn't think I was gonna get one. I ended up getting one. And like I told you, I had to do something, right? So now I'm like creating a consistent, like consistent quality brand.
Yeah.
And this brand, I just wanted what fixed to me. I think other people deserve that.
How many years then how long have you been growing hemp then now?
Okay. Oh God. Like I think you're 8 years now, I think 5 or 8 years or something like that. Hemp, like legally, right? Anything else has been whatever, right?
Yeah, like what you have going now.
I don't know if you can still incriminate yourself over the years. But yeah.
Well, hopefully soon. Hopefully
all that's.
I don't know. We've been here before, so
No, we definitely grow some fire hemp, and that's kind of like I said, it takes a different breed of person to like try to grow it because it's not you throw it in the ground and let it grow type of thing. It's literally like you said, you start following it with the test results. So like you can look at a plant and be like, okay, it's starting to get at this level just by looking at it, the leaves maturing or whatever, how big it's getting. And then I guess you can just tell. It's not really just telling, but like I said, looking at the plant and testing it over and over, you start like figuring it out.
Getting them experience from your observations. Usually when it looks like this, the outcome of the testing's like this.
They're all different from each other. So then when you grow another one, you got to do the same process.
And how big is your farm? Do you know how many plants do you have on your lot?
We are 5 acres here. I think it depends because if you're not trying to do for show, right? We're not trying to keep it nice and pretty. Then it's probably like 1,000 plants maybe, right? Because we spaced them out. Mm. But if this last season when my uncle was like really pushing it, I think he got up to like 3,000 plants, maybe 4,000 plants here.
Wow.
It was about 1,000 per acre, and it was really squeezing it. And the hard part is like the maintenance, right? Like cutting the grass and like weed eating and then going in there and like cleaning them up. You have more of that if you space them out less. Right. So like you can't drive a tractor in there. You can't, it's crazy. You get more labor and that's probably why a lot of farmers go to like burning plastic and like doing other kind of like agriculture type of practices. And I guess, like I said, it's all a science project.
Yeah, and I mean, I would imagine like it's so much harder growing. Like, fine, if you're gonna do an indoor grow, you need a lot of resources to help, to put that together. But like, I feel like Mother Nature is unpredictable, and growing outdoors is so much harder. Do you have to be on top of like the weather and all that? Like, how can you even do that?
So we do have some like lights up that we're using to like keep them, in veg. And it's kind of like a lot of, when I talk to a lot of hemp growers, they're like, dude, how do you do it? Like especially in Florida, because it's so much harder. So the crazy thing about the Florida numbers, right? So in Florida, there's about 800 growers supposedly, right? And like other states, like in West Virginia, there's 4,500 growers, right? But it's such smaller state. And so then you're like, why? But here in Florida, you get fined if you go over the THC threshold the second time. So you can only feel it here twice. But in West Virginia, like still slapping the wrist, nothing, right? And so like you're allowed to do more R&D in other states that aren't like finding you. And so that also eliminates a lot of family farmers. They don't have the money to like spend on $1,000 test every time they want to learn.
How does the state monitor that? Like you have to submit your test results or something?
Yeah, so like you can get R&D testing, which is like $250, but like to be able to sell your plant to the public, you have to pass a state test.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And you have to be, I think, within 15 days of like harvest. And so then like you kind of have to like plan out your plant on that. And so if your plant isn't like it's going to go hot, right? In 30 days, then you got to choose your plants wisely. Right?
Now, what kind of products do you guys make from your plants?
Okay, so for a while, like I said, my dad's always been about quality, right? About like focusing, like being the best at what you need to do. So he's like, first you got to, focus on the growing. So I spent about 3 years focusing on the growing and passing a test, right? And then after that, we focused strictly on flower. And we've sold out 3 seasons in a row, just back to back, just boom, sold out. People love it. And now we're getting to a point, he's like, okay, we need to make oil, right? And so produce more products. And that other product came through because of patient, I guess not a patient, but somebody that was using our products got too old from Parkinson's. And he had like 2 metal rods in his head and they stopped working. And so he's like super sensitive to a bunch of different oils. And so they were like, you can't use this oil, you can't use that oil. And that's kind of why we ended up using a vegetable glycerin for our carry agent, because of the reason for that guy, right? For that person. And so since then, like a lot of people have loved our oil because they're you can be sensitive to oils, but since it's vegetable glycerin, it's not really an oil, but it's also not an alcohol.
Okay.
And so that's kind of why we use that for like our medical grade tinctures and like our sublinguals, but also for like our cosmetic lines, because it's really good for your skin. And so, yeah, so now we're making a cosmetic line, which is what we're focusing on now. But we did our flour, which is completely sold out on our website. And every time we sell it, it sells out. And so now we're hoping that our oil will do that soon too. But it's just so hard to like create organic products at a small scale, but trying to be large scale as a family. Right,
because you want to make money, and it's like you kind of have to sell more in order to make that kind of money, right?
Yeah, so we sold a lot of flour, and then you're like, what do you do with all the stems and leaves and all this other stuff? And I didn't want to create just an oil that just had that, right? That's what everybody does, is use their trim, and they put it into their oils. And so my dad was just like, if you're always trying to be the best at everything, add your flour. So now completely, like, this last season went all the flour.
Yeah, full spectrum, huh?
Like, watch all this flour get grinded up. But, I mean, it makes great oil. You know?
Yeah.
But eventually, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just like, man, that's so crazy. So what how have you, like, what kind of customers do you have? Like, because you were talking about the gentleman that you actually created a whole product for.
Let me move because I don't want to lose you guys again on the internet.
You're outside.
Okay. A lot better for connection wise. Okay.
Word.
Oh, he's at the mansion.
Oh, bro, who's your dad? So you made it all mysterious. Like, I'll tell you who my dad is in a second. And I'm like on the edge of my seat. Who the hell's your dad?
Okay, so my original dad, I guess my father, right?
My original dad. I like that one.
Yeah, so he's like the cartel member, the bad guy, right? And so he was a bad person, right? And long story short, he kidnapped my mom and brought her to the U.S. as
Holy
he kidnapped her for
you
real.
You are lying.
You are not here for real.
Village shit right now.
Seriously,
okay, go.
So he kidnapped her, brought her to the U.S. Whenever the whole CIA went down to Mexico and raided their fucking party down there, right? So he came to the U.S. and was hiding himself and took basically my mom, right, as a human, whatever, right? So he took her with him and brought her to the U.S. and basically kept her as human slave. And so that's when she got into working in migrant farms and all that. And that's why it was huge for me to try to help them, right? Bring some kind of voice to them. And so if I was going to team up and be part of a huge product, It's Tasty Lee, really push it out there. I wanted to make a difference. And so if I am going to bring funds to an organization, that's why I wanted to focus on that with the Immokalee Coalition, because that is what they do. And how organizations do more work is with money, right? And so that's why I was huge about partnering with them, because of my mom's situation. But yeah, so my mom was a human slave, right? I hate saying that. And so then she was living with my father, and she just kept trying to escape all the time, right? And finally got away, got to a church, and the church was he found out, beat her, whatever. And she's I just went to church, right? And I don't know, one day it was just bad. It was just really bad at that time, right? And so then it got to a point where, I don't want to talk about that part, but it got to a point where I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, we have to leave or do something. And she called these guys, and it was basically the church. They came down with a van, and they were grab your stuff, right? You got a plastic bag, and you got to fill it up, and we got to go, right? And so we jump into this van. It's me, my sister, and my mom. We grab whatever we can, and they took us to basically a safe house, which is Mary Martha House. And he found us a couple weeks later, and we had to leave again. And so then we ended up being at the Spring, which is kind of what I want to focus on later on in life, right? And so then we ended up at the Spring, which is a women's shelter in Tampa. And they have security guard, round the clock security guard, and a fence, and all kinds of crazy stuff. And that's kind of where I learned to I need to be for myself type of thing as well. And they had guidance counselors and whatever. So my original father is basically a cartel member that came here, and he was a cop in Mexico, and was a 30 cop. And I don't know, my mom, I wanted to get away from him, right? There's all kinds of different shady meetings, all this stuff, all crazy hours, whatever, right? So she ended up getting away, and she just tried doing her best for us, and she kind of how she taught me how to hustle was selling produce out of the trunk of our car to try to buy a house someday, and so we were in all these different neighborhoods. And at that time, I still didn't get to weed until I was 12 years old. But yeah, so she saved up for years until I was about 11, and she bought a house over in Ruskin, and that's kind of where we moved to. And that was kind of my story about my dad. But anyways, so then years later, I'm hustling and doing all kinds of stuff, and I ran into this man named Roy Hunt, and he's basically my dad now. And so I was young enough that he's I don't know, he was always it was kind of if I needed any advice, I kind of go to him, right? But he never told me anything. He never told me who he is. He never told me any of that stuff, right? It was just more of if you have any problems, just come talk to me, right? And I just talk to him, and he gives me answers, right? And so when I got to the point of business in my life, he started he was just kind of who are you working for? And I was, that's kind of how I told him about that company. He came and met them and tried buying them, right? Whatever. Tried buying part of the company, but it didn't work out. And so basically he's just kind of a friend, and he's been the reason I call him my dad is because I've learned more from this man than any person I've ever encountered, right? Mm-hmm. So it's all business stuff and human stuff, like being a man, a better man. And that's why I call him my dad.
He's your father figure.
Know? Yeah, literally. You know. And so I guess his job is to like someday, like for me to be bigger than he is, or like become better than who he is. And so like he told me over the years was just that if you're going to use your influence to like cause a change in your life or whatever in the future, choose somebody that's good. And that's why he's always kind of like, you know, shared his like advice with me over the years. And also now it's funding, you know, but like he's also had me work for it, you know. It wasn't like easy. It's kind of like, and you know, a lot of people think that as soon as you get funding, oh my God, it's fucking easy, right? No way, dude. Like you need funding forever. Like this year, that year, for this thing, for that thing, and it's man, I mean, how we built up our fund was just like flipping shit, honestly. You know, like how we got to the Hemp Mansion was, you know, he had some condos, and I was just like, dude, like I'm really good with online stuff. Like, let me help market these things.
Oh yeah.
You know. Marketing them, we got them sold, we staged them, we sold them, and they were like $30,000 a piece that he got them at, and we ended up flipping those for like 50,000-60,000. Now they're worth like 200,000, right? But we flipped them real early on, and later on he's like, where would you want to live? You lived in Tampa, and I was like, downtown. Where in downtown? I was like, Channelside's like the place to be. We bought into there, and that went from like 250 to we ended up selling at 480. Or whatever, and so we've just been flipping all these different years. First, we started with houses, and then tomatoes, and I mean, it's been rolling it onto itself.
Yeah, and you just collecting all of the resources and then just building stuff.
And it got to the point where he was just like, I got depressed, and I stayed in West Virginia, like I was gone, and he was just like, come home. And I'm like, dude, I'm not coming home unless I'm growing this plant. I don't want to do any kind of business other than this. And so he's like, let's sell everything. So we sold all of our real estate, basically everything we have, even his house, and we bought the Hemp Mansion, which is what the Hemp Mansion is today, right? So like everything, all the properties we've ever had, every single dime went into this place, and plus some.
And what's the vision with the Hemp Mansion? Because I know it's available on Airbnb, like people can rent it. Like, what are the different things that, you know, people could use the Hemp Mansion for?
Oh, okay. So now that we're, you know, it is the dream, whatever, it's a passion, right? And we have this house and we're like growing on it. And I'm like, man, people should experience this. Like, you know, it's so beautiful, like the property, but at the same time, it's like, you almost feel like you're not in Brandon, you know, and at the same time, because it's a licensed farm, like you can smoke here, you can like do, you know, like you're free. It's almost like having freedom. And so we're using the land to pay for the house. You know, we didn't grow up this way. He didn't either, right? Like he asked his mom for like tube socks, and she was like, no, like growing up. And that's kind of what like inspired him to like try to help me out, was that he had to like fight that throughout his whole life in West Virginia. And that's also why I'm like a huge fighter for West Virginia, because it is like the underdog state for the whole United States. And it's like, who's going to fight for them if there's not somebody else, you know? And so either way, like my whole life has been kind of like trying to put everybody up. And now I'm just to the point where like I can use my resources for that, you know? And so when I told him, I was just like, dude, we got to use this place and like open it up to the public. At first, it was kind of like, I don't know, man, we're going to ruin it, you know. But at the same time, he knows that, you know, we're like, it's not that we're trying to be the first, but we just want people to have a safe space to use and medicate and not be treated differently. And so like nowadays, I'm like focusing on yoga and like doing hemp, dude. Like honestly, I like weed, but like I know some people talk about doing tea breaks, right? But honestly, like when I smoke too much weed, I feel like I get lost in the sauce, right? Mm-hmm. And so it brings me back, and so I always love the plant for that, and like, you know, my dad always says it brought his son back, right? Even though that's not like my real dad,
right.
It's my dad,
yeah,
you know.
I was going to go back to asking you about like your customer base. So you said you sold out of flour first and then you started moving into other different kinds of products. So like, are you just based on like, are you doing sales through your website? How are you linking up with local patients that maybe you have told
we were selling a lot in farmers markets, right? And so a lot of people were just kind of like, man, I'd rather support this guy at the farmers market. He's got fresh stuff. And so what I learned, weird stuff, right? So when I was doing the Tasty Lee stuff, I met with the important people at Whole Foods, right? And so when you walk into Whole Foods, I shouldn't even tell you guys this, but like this is like my brain chemistry stuff all the time, right? And so I walk into Whole Foods with like their lead like marketing person, right? Mm-hmm. And he says, "Do you know why there's flowers when you walk into Whole Foods?" And I was like, "No." And he says, because it triggers brain chemistry, like brain stuff in your brain, like chemistry in your brain to like to tell you that it's fresh, like the smells and like
I love the psychology of marketing. That's
the flowers.
Yeah,
it's all like
Trader Joe's does it too,
right? And so then and when you walk into the produce aisle, right, all their produce is in like these IFCO bins, right? But they're all hidden behind this like marketing, like papered, like outfitted stuff, right? So like when you walk into the produce aisle, it looks like there's like wooden bins, but it's actually like a plastic cart under it, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's just product placement and so when I was gonna start selling our hemp, I really wanted to focus on that fresh feel, right? Because how else can you do it without like trying to like make flowers and all this crazy stuff on ads, right? So I took my plants down to the local flea market and fucking sold that shit, right? I was just like, I can use it as an art, right? As art or educational. And I called down to the city and I was like, do you guys care if I bring my plants? And they're like, nobody's ever called us about this. And I was like, okay. And they were okay with it, right? So like I got these like videos on TikTok of like me set up on the side of the road, right? Selling flour. Right, I had like fresh.
And you've never had a cop approach you thinking it's weed.
What's that?
You've never had a cop, like anybody call the cops on you thinking you're selling weed?
Videos of that too on TikTok. And so like cops approaching me, people calling the cops on me.
You just show them your license, your like hemp license, and be like, no, this is hemp. You can test it.
Yeah, flying over the fields, like helicopters, all kinds of hours. Like it was like in the beginning of hemp, it was crazy.
Oh damn! How nervous would you be when you hear them helicopters circling over your crop?
Yeah, they didn't care about us. Like I'm like growing and I'm like, hey, I'm about to get robbed, and they were like, you got a gun, protect yourself. Yeah.
Your decision,
like, right, dude. Like
stand your ground. At least you're in Florida. At least you're in Florida.
This was in West Virginia, like straight up. Like,
shit.
Yeah, it was bad. And so I know I got shook down. I almost got shook down a couple of times. Almost got robbed. Had my dog with me. I mean, it's been crazy. But yeah, I ended up going to like local flea market in West Virginia, sold out there, and then like people kept asking, and I went got a booth, sold out again, and my dad was just kind of like, come back to Florida, and I was just like, nah, I'm left, so I'm growing. And so I came down here, been growing for the last 2 years, and started hitting the farmers markets again. So I started hitting the farmers markets again, and we have our own online store. And so when we were in West Virginia, we also did sell a ton on TikTok. I'm talking about like we sold out our season when I got it on TikTok in like 3 days. On TikTok.
And you would say it was all because of TikToks.
Yeah, man, TikTok's an easy way to push.
Yeah, I know.
And it wasn't even.
And it was
like, honestly,
if it was
think it's easy. And
if it was 2020,
I was posting.
Or 2019
right,
TikTok,
no,
it was way less censored,
okay, but this is the thing. It is not easy.
Not anymore.
No, but it was never easy. We just
if you were consistently posting, right, and you had good content,
right, you have to be consistent.
Yes,
but this is the thing, and also during the pandemic, I gotta say, I think also that helped too
because people were online,
and people were looking for connections and connecting to others over the internet.
Yeah, but we were growing right before this pandemic. So we were at about 120,000 followers, and then the pandemic hit, and we got up to like 160. And we sold out in 3 days, I guess around that time. But yeah, that was before that, we were at about a month to 2 months before we sold out. And then with, like I said, with TikTok in the pandemic, it was 2 days. and it kind of shook us a little bit because I wasn't ready for it. We couldn't get enough boxes. It was
right because you weren't expecting
the typical bad stuff that happens to a small business on TikTok.
Yeah, well, because you're not expecting that kind of shit, and then it's like, whoa,
holy shit!
I told them, I think I'll sell maybe three packages this week or something on TikTok, right? And all of a sudden I wake up and it's like 10 grand in the bank account. I was like, oh, okay.
I got a lot of packaging to do. A lot of packaging and shipping to do.
I know, dang.
And then like 3 days in, I'm like, I think I can hit 100 grand. Like, you know. And it just kept growing. It was insane.
So as far as the Hemp Mansion, people can rent it out and stay there, and then they could try your products and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or?
So right now we're renting it out, and I mean there's people that had parties in it. It was bad, and so now we're gotten to the point where we just want to focus more on the wedding side and special occasions.
Yeah.
So if you go in, you're gonna talk to Dad, not me, right? And so he is like my security guard when I can't do that stuff, right? So I can't sit around and read people's messages all day long trying to like get into the place. And so he kind of like weeds that out for me when I'm trying to grow.
Oh, that's good.
And so when I tell people, I'm like, hey,
would be really good.
The old man on there.
Weddings would be really good, especially now cannabis themed weddings.
Yes, we were just talking so we are going to be at a 420 festival in St. Pete on the day of the dinner during the day. So we had them on our podcast last time. And we were weren't we talking to them about like cannabis themed weddings, and how that's gonna eventually be a popular thing. Yeah,
it's gonna be a thing for sure.
No, I mean, since the first event that we had quite a little bit of buzz going around, and some people were like hitting us up about bringing it out and all that, but we've been more selective about it, and so that's why we haven't had more buzz. Is because of we choosing the path we're going.
But I agree. I feel like that's why. Look, listen. I feel like that's why we're like trying to make it a small event. It's just because, I feel like, again, too many people, you don't have time to build those relationships. It's too much, right? When we curate a smaller event and we're able to like build connections and build relationships with those people and focus on talking to the people who are going out of there. Like, you want people who are involved and who are serious about it. And like, you don't want to like, I listen, I get you. I wouldn't want anybody, if I owned that place and I had such pride and I did my thing there, I wouldn't want anybody to come and like, disrespect it, like whatever. You're taking such a big gamble. I totally understand.
You always have to be careful who you're doing business with.
I know. No, exactly. And, we are a licensed farm, and so like I do want to share it with the world, but at the same time, I need to like be very respectful of the plant too.
Mm-hmm. Selective, there's no like if
you love the plant and you want to come down, cool, let's do it. But if you're like trying to like treat it like it's just something else,
well, we're super stoked to have our event there. That this is the first time this is our first event.
This is our first official.
We've had people asking for us to do an event for a couple years now.
And we've been putting it off because the
pandemic.
Well, and also we had gone to other events, and it's like, again, lots of people.
Mm-hmm. We didn't want that.
We didn't want that. Small. And we also, too, I feel like I don't want to just be another number. Like, I don't want to walk up into a place and just be another number. Like, if I pay good money to be somewhere, I want people to like make it an experience. You want to really give people something.
And that's kind of like that first dinner we had 6 people, and they all loved it because it wasn't 100 people that showed up, right? They literally networked, right? So they all traded each other's business cards. They met each other. They're like in different spaces and out there in the world, right? Actually, 2 doctors showed up, and the other couple photographers, and so it was kind of cool. But it's now they're like utilizing each other.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of like what we want it to be. Cause like I said, I want it to be a safe space for people, but I also want it to be so they're like helping each other out.
Yeah.
Cause remember, that's what I've always been about, my whole life is helping other people. And so if they can come and connect here, that's cool too, And that's kind of what we want it to be.
And that was Flavio Valdez from Hemp Mansion. Follow him on Instagram at Hemp Mansion. A website you can purchase some of his CBD products is Flower Pot Farms. That's PHARMS .square.site. He's got some tinctures, some nice beauty products. And if you come to our dinner, part of the goodie bag will include some of the CBD products made at the Hemp Mansion. Hey, sponsors, we love you. We want to give you a special shout out and thank you to our patrons. As always, Yanni,
Destiny,
Lauren,
Jesse,
Christy,
April,
Shelby,
Denise,
Peaches,
Natalie,
Meredith,
Terry,
Angelina,
Jenny,
Catherine,
and Camilla.
Hey, you too can have us shout you out. Become a patron for early access to episodes, additional content, video, full uncut versions of our interviews, Zoom smoke sessions, vacations, dinner events,
discounts at the dinner.
Yeah,
all the events.
Exactly. So the 20% off of this dinner if you become a patron, which I think is a pretty good idea. I mean, if you're getting this far, you might as well go all in.
And we apparently have video now for patrons.
Yeah,
I think we got it to work.
Well, I think we might get, and we might be onto something this time.
Eyeballs now too.
Exactly. Subscribe, rate, review, and share our content. We love you. Bye. Smoking Mud.